Hello, 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 and welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, August 1st, 2022. We're in the 8th month of the year already. Man, time's flying, time's going, and nothing we can do to stop it, but that's okay. We're here to talk about cars and stuff tonight, and I'm glad you are here and participating. If you would, hit that like button, thumbs up, let us know or let YouTube know that you're watching us and you're interested in letting other people know that it's online, And if you're new here, well, we try to focus on classic cars. Typically Mustangs, Camaros, maybe Chevelles, maybe Torinos, maybe a Plymouth or two. It doesn't really matter. Just classic cars. When we say classic, we're talking mid 50s up into mid 70s, probably in that bracket of time. So if you have any questions, I encourage you to ask. And if you do ask a question, and it's a good question, I'll give you a bell. If we get a good answer, I'll also give a bell. Now, it could be me giving the good answer, or it could be somebody in my chat box over here on the side. I always have a great group of people here, and they participate and help out whenever questions arise that I may not have an answer to. So sit back, relax. If you have some subject matter you want to talk about, by all means, bring it up. And it doesn't really matter what it is. Cars, right? Maybe movies, maybe food. It depends on where we go with this, but I'm glad you're here. So let's see who is here. First off, first one in is Terry Keithley. Evening all, and Barry, please hit the thumbs up and like button. Stay cool all. Thank you kindly. Yes. Glad you're here, Terry. And Greg checking in from Australia. Glad you're here, Greg. That's Greg, also Greg's workshop. So if you don't know that. David and Cheryl checking in, but it's hello everyone. Cheryl here from hot and muggy Missouri. Yeah. I'm sure it is. It's pretty, I think it's pretty consistent across the U.S. right now. I think we're all hot and muggy. Seems that way anyway. Glad you're here, Cheryl. Rick Gain, happy to be here to relax for a while. I hope everyone is doing well. Glad you're here, Rick. Yeah, we can just chill, just relax, have a minute or two to talk about things. Glad you're here, Rick. Chris Greenaway. Chris, I haven't seen you in a while. I know you had problems before. I don't know what has changed. Because I know you said you couldn't access before. You sent me an email or something. So I'm glad you're here. I haven't seen you in a while. Hope all is well with you and your dad and everything. So glad you're here. Jerry checking in from the Money Pit in Middle Tennessee. Click the like button. Listen to the high men. Thank you, Jerry. Hey, and Jerry, if you want to, we can try to get you back on tonight if you're interested. Currently, I don't have any parameters set on this live stream, so maybe we can try it again if you want to. I'll go ahead and send you an invite just in case, and we'll take it from there. So let me punch that up real quick. Hold on a second. Okay, so I'm going to send you that link, and we'll see what happens. If you're interested, that's fine. If you're not, that's fine too. But glad you're here. Dave Conville checking in from New Jersey. Glad you're here, Dave. Robert checking in from Texas. Evening all at the airport, hoping... Oh, not from Texas. At the airport, hoping to get seats in a minute to finally head home. Not looking forward to the weather at home, though. That's right, you're out of town. So I'm glad you're here, Robert. I hope you can be here as much as you can, obviously. But if you get on a plane, hey, have a safe travel. Safe trip. Glad you're here, Robert. Troy Justit. Hey, everyone, from coastal Georgia. Glad you're here, Troy. And Roger checking in from next door. Thank you, Roger. And Roger has high-speed internet now. So that's a good thing. Rick Stevenson. Good evening, everyone. Glad you're here, Rick. Crash Rider. Originating from southern Indiana. Good evening to everyone. Joe Daddy better be getting the Camaro parts pretty soon, as it appears he will knock out this gasser front end fairly quickly. Hit the like. Yes, hit the like. You know, we're going to talk about that as we move forward. We'll get there. Let's see who else is here. Bob Shoemaker, good evening from Oklahoma, where everything is okay, right, Bob? Glad you're here. Jack Underwood, hey Jack, how's it going? Glad you're here. Glad you're here, Jack. I'll even give you a bell. I don't know. I think you've been on here before, but I don't remember specifically. So glad you're here. And we have Simone checking in from the UK. Glad you're here, Simone. Give you a bell. And Greg, she's saying hi to Greg. Okay. David and Cheryl, I have a question. Have you ever heard of a single exhaust on the 69 Thunderbird when the build sheet says dual exhaust? That's a good question, and probably a tough one to answer. And the reason for that is do you know the history of the car? It's not uncommon for cars to be modified after they left the dealership. So let's say that car was driven for 10, 15, 20 years, whatever the number may be, and the exhaust very well may have rusted off of it. I think you said that car was from New England area, I think. It's very possible that it rusted off. And rather than spend the money on dual exhaust, it's not surprising if somebody says, hey, let's just put single exhaust on it. I'm not building, I'm not driving a hot rod. It's okay. So that's where your discrepancy could be and probably is. So that's a great question, though. Great question. I see you, Jerry. I see you. We'll get with you in just a minute. And Jack checking in from @Classic Cars of Maryland. Yes, he's got a Facebook page, Classic Cars of Maryland. Lots of good stuff on there, and you should check it out if you get a chance. Charlie Seidelman. Hi, Barry and everyone. Nice weather here in Eastern PA. That's a good thing. Glad to hear, Charlie. Troy, I'm curious about your crane winch. How do you have that mounted? I don't know if I want to show you that. I think I've shown it before. I don't know if I could. Let me see if I can tilt the camera up. It's really high tech. It's really high tech. Those are pressure treated 4x4s on top of the trusses, which are the bracing is built out of 2x6 boards that are screwed to the 2x4s, creating kind of a shelf area, let's say. And then it's two 4x4s. And I don't know what it's load rated at. I don't know. I guess there's only one way to find out, but right now it works. So that's a good question, Troy. Let me see here. James. Hi, when you, let's see, when you finish the Camaro. Oh, when are you going to finish the Camaro you was working on? Well, I'm waiting on parts. Unfortunately, I thought I had an arrangement going with Auto Metal Direct to supply me with some fresh sheet metal. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they don't have the inventory or if what. I've contacted them a couple times. They said they're working on it. So that's kind of why I'm not working on it at the moment. So good question. David, Cheryl, also, how do you get in the trunk without keys? Another great question. You have to go through the back seat. That's really the only way to do it without busting out the lock. I've done that many times at the junkyard. In fact, I did one, the 65 Impala that I did the trunk seal on a couple years back. His trunk broke, and I had to take the back seat out, and there was enough space. Actually, I didn't even go through the trunk. Let's put it this way. I used to be able to go through the trunk. But what I ended up doing was taking a whole bunch of extensions and reaching in through the trunk and finding the bolts that hold the latch and just taking the latch off. And when you do that, the trunk will open. So that's a good question as well. Thank you. Whoops. Wait a minute. There we go. Randall, checking in from Utah. Happy to say I received my vintage air kit for the 67 Cougar. That's a good thing. Simone says hi to Robert. Jerry, what are the model of the laser levels you purchased for from Harbor? I guess it's Harbor Freight. I guess is that what you're asking, Jerry? Um, that's a good question. Let me hold on just a second. Because I had tossed the packages, but I still have them in the trash. So it's a Bauer 20205L-B. 20205L-B is what the part number is. That's item number. Here you go. Item number from Harbor Freight 57530. 57530 is the item number. Hope that helps. Okay. Robert got boarding passes, both middle seats, just waiting on the plane now. Okay. Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Greg Workshop checking in. Hi, Barry. Hi, Simone. Hi, Greg. Betty Keithley. Hi, Barry. Have a good show. Thank you, Betty. I plan to do that. No cats. No cats in the show. Cheryl, the Thunderbird is from Missouri. Oh, that's right. The Mustang was from New England then, right? I think that's what we had said. Oh, there it is. She said New Hampshire. That's in New England. There we go. I get a bell. Whoops. Okay. Jack says thanks. Yes. Jack Underwood just smart. And Terry. Barry, I thought I saw an OSHA-approved sticker on the hoist. Yeah, there is. I'm sure. There probably is on the hoist itself. And Simone says, talking in parts, Barry, I need one more before I can start work on the tail end of my car. It needs to be imported from Germany. Well, at least it's not needed to be imported from the U.S., which would probably be more difficult. So hope it shows up soon, and you can get to work on it. Jack W. checking in. Hi, Barry. Hope all is well. Glad you're here, Jack. And Donnie Williams. Greetings from San Antonio, Texas. Greetings to you, Donnie. Glad you're here. Okay. Now that we've got all that taken care of, I'm going to bring Jerry on so we can see what's going on with him in Middle Tennessee. There he is. Jerry?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
But all I can see is the screen on my computer.
Oh, did you log in on your computer?
No, I sent everything by the phone.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
can you see me?
All I see is your computer, and I hear an echo.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, you may have to maybe log off the computer and just go straight to your phone with that invite.
Okay.
I'll pull you off for a moment. Okay, yeah. So we'll try to get Jerry on, and he can show us his Mustang and what things he's done with it. But I would say, Jerry, you're probably, if you accepted the invite on the computer, then that's maybe why it won't go to your phone. So you may have to log off of YouTube off the phone, off the computer, and do it on your phone directly through the email, I think. Cheryl, there's a full-size tire blocking away, plus there are bars. Oh, well then, I've done it. I don't know if you can see the latch or anything, but I've done it before with long extensions. So, and I didn't realize there were bars in the way of that. There's really not much alternative unless you want to drill out the lock. You're going to be replacing the lock anyway, if you don't have a key for it, because unless you're going to try to have one made somehow, I don't know. But you may end up just drilling out the center of the lock and breaking it into smaller pieces, let's say, without damaging the tail panel. Simone says you can mute YouTube. Yeah, I don't. See, I don't even have them. I don't even have YouTube open when I do this. I don't. It's just not on here. So I think I was hearing myself on his computer, and it was just creating a rebound. So, but yeah, normally when we do this, it's with the phone. It gets you right there. So we'll have to see if we can figure this out. And Chris, paint update, looking for another painter at the end of the week. If he hasn't done it, missed 3 deadlines. He told me he'll have it done or my $2,000 deposit back. Has had the car since November. My goodness, that's not cool. That's not cool at all. Sorry to hear that, Chris. Crash Letter, he was showing up next to you. Yes. Yeah, I can put him on the screen, but he wants to take his phone and show us the Mustang, I believe. He wants to show us what he's getting done on the Mustang. And the only way to do that is through the phone, because the computer is not leaving that spot. I know you're not going to be able to carry that around, Jerry. So the only way, like I said, the only way I could see it is to just close out the computer, what's going on with it, and try to go just use your phone. That's my thought. Cheryl, no keys to any part of the doors, ignition, and trunk. Oh, okay. Well, I can't. I think I'm trying to remember how the configuration is. Those keys. My mom had a 64, and it had a flat top on the key with the cutaways at the either top or bottom, whatever. One side was totally flat, and then it had the cutaway shape. Later on, like I know in the 60, I don't know if the 67 did, but the 68 Mustang has the double stack key, so it's like the same on both sides. You can put it in either way. So it's possible you could have a key made for it. You just have to know which one you need. And Randall says, for some Ford products, a key code on the glove compartment box will get you the trunk lock key code. Okay, so I don't know what's available. If there's something on the I guess something in the glove box area. My thoughts, though, if the trunk and the door lock are the same, and you wanted to go this route, if you can get into the door, you can take the key tumbler out of the door and then go to a locksmith and have them make you a key that fits the door, and that may possibly get you into the trunk. So there's kind of some either sequences in that. Chris, really looking forward to having her back. Unfortunately, my old man ain't getting any younger and was supposed to be over the winter. Yeah, sorry to hear that, Chris. I know it's frustrating. And believe me, I know how it is on my side of things when I have work that I want to do, but I can't because, I'm not being supplied parts and stuff. So it makes it difficult on my side for that. Chris, if you can remove one tumbler, there will be a number that you can get replacement keys. So that's basically what I was suggesting. If you can get the door lock tumbler out, then you could probably have a key made that'll fit the door and the trunk at least. So, no, Cheryl says no keypad on a 69. Yeah, what we're talking about is the code it's a number code that would be in the glove box. Sometimes they put a sticker in there that may have that information. It's just a number code. So it could be a 3-digit number, it could be a 4-digit number, and that correlates to the code for that key. So it might be in there, but it might not. You could look in there and see if it does have anything. Let's see. Whoops. Chris says on Fumico. Oh, talking about the key, the numbers on Ford tumblers. I got you. Steve Grimes, I think the trunk and glove box is the same key. I think so as well. That's usually how it works. So, like I said, if you can get the door lock out, like Chris says, or maybe numbers on the tumbler that'll tell the locksmith what you can use, or you could look in the glove box and see if there's some information in there. Sometimes there's I don't know what they put all in these cars back then, but sometimes they would put like information cards that might have a variety of things on it. And that might be in there somewhere. Might. It's worth a shot to look, though. Rick, I have new lock cylinders and keys for a 65 or 66 Mustang. Free if somebody wants them. I have no use for them. Brand new, just the doors. Well, thank you, Rick. Cheryl says, okay, thank you. You're welcome, Cheryl. Okay. So let me. I see Jerry's still in the queue. Let me see if we got anything figured out. I still see you there, Jerry. Is it still trying to work on your phone? Okay. He's still working on his phone. Randall, I think the number is stamped on the back of the glove compartment lock. That's a good point as well, because there should be a key lock on the glove compartment. Should be. And if that number's there, that would also give them the information they need. So that might be another option. It would be easier than going through the door. Yep. Chris Bear, I think you would have been happy. New lenses, new gaskets, new decals, new glass for everything. Ooh, that would be nice. That would be nice. Yeah, in my case, I've had that Mustang convertible here that I haven't. I looked through my videos on that. The last time I worked on it was in 2020, August of 2020. I think it was the last time I worked on that car, and because I didn't get it, wasn't getting any parts, wasn't getting anything. Nothing was happening. So, yeah. Hopefully that car's gone soon. Hopefully, that's the goal. Troy, if you can get to the lock assembly, you can open it with a screwdriver. I sent a picture. Let me see here. Oh yeah, if you can get in there, yeah. You're right, because it has that. I'll go ahead and show that. Let me pull that up so Cheryl can see what we're talking about. Whoa, there we go. I had lost my my screen there for a minute. Okay. So what Troy is saying, that if you can get into it would take a long reach to get through the trunk on the inside, and if you could get a screwdriver, of course it's going to have the main post in that anyway. But if you can get in a screwdriver into the slot that is just slightly off center and turn it, it should release the latch. Should. But I don't know if she has access to that. She said her stuff in the trunk is kind of fighting with her. So. Yeah, Chris says new trim too. Yeah, that would be nice. The car's going to look good when it gets done. Charlie, as for what I'm working on this new month, I'm devising a mounting arrangement for my 67 Camaro shell on my rotisserie that previously was used on my Chevelle, but it's about to get very hot. Yep. Very hot. It's already hot. I don't know if it can get much hotter. So you're devising an arrangement for your Camaro. Yeah, because the Chevelle, of course, that's a whole different setup. So, yeah, I'm sure you'll figure it out. Rick, on my 66 Mustang, I never had keys for the door. I had to lock and unlock it with a Slim Jim. Okay. I hope you have locks now. I would hope. I wouldn't want to carry around a Slim Jim in my pocket all the time. That would be kind of inconvenient. But Chris, I don't do halfway if the exterior is getting refreshed up. Why put acid etch trim or scratch glass back in? Then need to go get buffed and polished, then AC whenever the dash cracks. Yeah, I get that. I get that. That makes sense. That makes sense. Rick, did anybody ever install an electronic trunk release for a 60s Mustang, considering it if it's available? I've thought about doing that myself, and really it's just a matter, you could retrofit just about anything. I hear helicopters. You could probably retrofit something. Now, I don't know if somebody makes one specifically that is designed for the Mustang, but there's a variety of things out there. You could do the electronic one, or if you wanted to go this other route, you could do like, the little Hondas and stuff have an interior trunk latch release. The only thing I don't like about that on these classic cars is when I open a trunk, I feel like it wants to spring up pretty quick, right? So if you're doing a remote release, nothing's back there to stop it from just popping up as hard as it can against the stops. For me, I'd rather open it by hand and just catch it going up. And there's a convenience factor involved, but I don't want to stress the structure of the trunk because it's a pretty good mass that moves. Jerry, hey Barry, speaking of hot, I have a couple more hours of quiet before I have to listen to Robert complain about the Texas heat. Oh, we both have aisle seats, not middle seats. A couple of hours of quiet. Well, I don't know. You might get them fired up while you're on the flight. That's funny. Rick, I never went far with a 66. It was a 6-cylinder and too far gone. I ended up giving it away and buying the 65 that I finished restoring. Okay. Good. Chris, although I do want them back as trunk goodies, looking at my next project. Okay. Yeah, you're talking about all the extra pieces left over. Yeah, it's good to hang on to those. Randall, when I was in high school, 70s, I installed a solenoid to release the trunk, and I glassed in the key area on the 67 Cougar that I'm working on now. Got it back 43 years after I sold it. Okay. That's amazing. Why don't you find my 69 Mach 1 so I can buy it back? I would appreciate that. I know that won't happen. I don't know where that car ended up. And I don't know that I could honestly identify it, from a looking at other cars. I don't know if I could tell the difference. Let's see if I can. Cheryl has sent me some pictures of the Thunderbird. I'm seeing if I can. I have to connect multiple things at the moment. Let me see where I can do this. Nope. Okay. We'll open up this picture for Cheryl. Whoops. So there's the Thunderbird. And I'm assuming that probably had fender skirts. More than likely that it had fender skirts. I don't know if I can get this other one to... give me 1 second. Almost there. And here's the other. Whoa. I can't do that one. Hold on. It says I have too many pictures open. So here's the other shot, straight on. That's a cool front end. I must say, I do like the way that looks. I like the four headlights and the kind of gives it a ram air kind of feel. I've always liked the way they did the front ends on the T-Birds. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And then there's, again, the side shot with the suicide doors. That's pretty cool. Let me go back up here, Randall. So you got the car back after 43 years. That's amazing. That's amazing. I have no idea where my dad's Mustang ended up. He sold it, I think, in 80. It was either late 84, I think. I think it was fall of 84 is when he sold that thing. No idea who got it. You're welcome, Cheryl. You're welcome. Let's see. Rick, my friend and I finished the work on the 04 GMC today. It'll be up for sale tomorrow. Looking forward to working on cars that don't have computers in them. Yes. I'm with you on that. I am with you on that. Chris says, especially when you let the car go, people sometimes want original condition. That is true too. That's why I recommend if you have original parts for a car that you've modified. I know Rick in particular has the original engine from his car. Some people want that, and I don't blame them. If it's available, I would like to have those parts, even if I didn't do anything with them. I would just like to have them as part of the original package. So that does make sense. Chris says, but this car is a family heirloom. Now my nephew's pining over it and give me grief for Grandpa's car not being back. Yeah. Well, there's not much you can do about it, and he needs to just understand that. Dennis, Iberian Gang, 91 degrees, West Canada. Way too hot for us. Keys for my 61 Mustang and a 64 Falcon. Both ignition keys work on the door locks. Okay. Yeah, and those would have the offset. No, those don't have the offset, do they? I don't know. I can't remember now. Yeah, they had it staggered. I can't remember. Okay. All right. Hold on, Jerry. Well, let me do this. Let me try this. Okay, so we got that. Now, Jerry, I'm getting shots from your phone, so you must have figured it out. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna bring Jerry back up, and we're gonna see what he's got going on. So let's try this again. You're on, Jerry.
Well, it was a challenge, and apparently, it asked me for a password, and the password I thought that I had for my system was my wife's password.
Oh.
And so I had to reset it. But anyway.
Okay.
So
let's see what you're working on.
All right. Let me turn the lights on.
Sure.
And we'll go from there.
Sounds good. And if you haven't seen this before, Jerry has I think a 66, if I remember correctly, Mustang, that he had done a bunch of work to it, and then it kind of got away from him and hit the building. And so he's had to kind of massage the car back together up front. And that's looking really good, Jerry.
So what I decided to do after the pony jumped out of the corral and run down the pathway and crashed into the fence, I decided to replace the engine aprons or the fender aprons on both sides. And I pulled the engine, repainted everything, new core support, and I've got the vintage air system plumbed in, and it's pressurized, although I haven't finished all the wiring yet. And this is kind of where I am with it right now.
Well, that looks really good, Jerry. It does.
And I've got a new carburetor coming in. It's a Weber 38 uh, two barrel with the adapter and new manifold or new intake manifold. Or I'm sorry, um, filter and stuff for the carburetor.
Okay.
But
I still like those. I love those braces you have on there. Those strut braces.
yeah, I, and I do too.
Now, I know you said you put vintage air in. I know you got disc brakes on that car. And you converted this back over to 5 lug, correct?
I did.
Yeah.
I used the guy out of Austin, ASRS,
Okay.
for the front end, and then the rear end is a 1998 Ford Explorer that I cut down with 373 gears in it. And then I just installed the conversion from Modern Driveline for the 5-speed Tremec transmission.
Okay.
And so their kit included a 5-degree offset for the bell housing and a new transmission mount, so that everything lines up as you can see right now, lines right up in the tunnel like it's supposed to.
That looks good. That looks real good. Now
And
you
also,
also
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Um, I also installed a hydraulic clutch on for the transmission.
Okay. And if I remember correctly, you put in the electric steering, didn't you?
I did, and it's here. The steering wheel is off. Um, when I put it on, the wheels were out on the car, so I've got to take the steering wheel back off and turn it around and get it clocked right. But yeah,
Okay.
so I got the EPAS system on it and hydraulic clutch, and
Well,
there's
I can see, Jerry, that I looked at that car before, when I was there, and you're doing a great job right now. I mean, I know in the previous, let's say the previous attempt, you had brought up some issues you didn't like, and I'm hoping now that you're at this stage that you can resolve all the other issues with the panel fitment and that sort of thing.
where I am right now is I need to finish the wiring up. Because of all the extra wiring that I need to get done, I've ordered some wiring blocks so I can distribute this stuff out so that it doesn't stack up like you see right here.
Yeah.
And once I think that's coming in today or tomorrow. And then once that's done, then I can finish all the wiring up, get all that stuff finished up. And then what I'm going to do is put the new radiator or put the fan back on. And I've got a new aluminum radiator that's going to go in. And then charge it with the coolant so that I can start the engine and actually move the car around a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's looking really good, Jerry, I will say.
Oh, and I want to tell you, just I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but I'll try to lay it out here where you can. Can you see this?
Yeah.
So when you do a vintage air system,
Yeah.
you need to make sure all your fittings are deburred before you put them together,
Okay.
because if they're not, that's what happens to your O-ring, and you can't pull a vacuum on it.
Yep. I'm sure you had fun finding that.
Yeah. And
No,
the only other thing that I'll just point out for you is that this whole vintage air system was designed for an original exhaust manifold.
right.
But since I had headers on the car, I had to design this new bracket so that I could mount everything in and get the clearance that I wanted off, so that I could keep the headers on.
That looks great. It really does. Yeah, I see you have the coil mounted over on the side on the shock tower.
Oh yeah, the dryer.
Oh, I'm sorry. It looked like a coil. Okay, okay, now I see it. Sorry. It looked like the coil, but yeah, that's the dryer. I get it.
And so the next upgrade I think I'm going to do, and I would appreciate some feedback from the audience, is I want to replace this distributor with electronic distributor and
Right.
electronic coil. And I've done a little research, and it looks like the best fix that I can find is a Duraspock distributor with internal coil and stuff like that. But
Okay.
if anybody has any suggestions on that, man, I'd really appreciate it.
Well, if anybody does, we'll see it pop up. Because I know a lot of people go with the Petronix kit, and I've heard good and bad about them. So I can't really endorse them.
You know, I've read a lot of stuff online, and you know the problem that I run into is because I want to keep this thing as an inline six, is that I'm limited on options for distributors,
Sure.
and the Duraspark seems to be the most thing common one that pops up when I research this, and I wanted to go with an M, what, I think an MDS,
Yes.
but I have not found anything that will support this engine.
Okay. Yeah, and you know being that you're staying with a six cylinder obviously makes that more of a challenge. You know,
It,
because almost everybody doesn't do what you're doing. You know, but I think it's gonna be a fun little car.
well, I think it will too, because um, if I'm on a waiting list for a new head that is manufactured here in the U.S., but it was designed in Australia, which takes off this log and has a separate intake manifold.
Oh, okay.
If I get that head, which I'm not optimistic right now because I've been on the waiting list for 2.5 years, is then I'm going to change this whole carburation system out, and I'll go to 3 one-barrel carburetors.
Okay, that'll be interesting.
So just something different, because I think I told you when you were here, Barry, that I wanted to show this car, and based on input from you and from friends and stuff like that, I probably didn't do the best restoration on the first try.
Right.
And
Right.
so that's when I went back, because I think you remember I showed you pictures, and I think it might have been Crash Rider that noticed a rise here.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but anyway, it was because I just didn't do a good job installing those fender panels,
Right.
and so I ordered these from MTD. They're all one piece, and I got to tell you, that was a job to put in.
I'll bet.
And
Yeah.
then new course support, and of course, then you can see everything else I've done.
Yeah. It looks great.
So we'll just have to play it by ear and see what where it goes and see how it comes
Now,
out.
now your other car is in the paint booth, isn't it?
This car is in the paint booth right now.
Okay. So your other car is in the main shop.
It is. It's actually on the lift.
Okay. Well, you should let everybody see what that is too.
All right. Well, I'll let it down and
Well, you can let it. Well, I guess you could probably let it up and just show it as it is.
actually it's got a cover on it. So
Oh well, then
why
don't.
don't you take some questions and then I'll let it down and I'll show everybody else.
Okay, well, I'll pull you off for the moment. Okay, Jerry's going to show us his other Mustang, which is going to be a treat. So let me go back up here to the top, get some questions taken in or answered. Okay, so we have Ray Buckman. Good evening, all. Hope everyone is well. Glad to hear Ray. Dennis Paulson. Trunk locks on both cars only work on trunk only. Okay. Yeah, talking about the key issues. Donnie, I want to come on and show mine too. Well, you can. If you want to join the conversation, at the bottom of my screen is an email. Send me an email. And then once I get that email, then I can send you an invite. So it's Joe Daddy's Garage at gmail.com if you want to join in, which would be fine with me. Fine with me. So Ray Buckman is saying that looks really good, Jerry, and I agree with him. Yes. Car Guy Troy looks nice, Mr. Jerry. Yep. Donnie Williams. Yes, indeed. Nice little 6. I agree. Dennis Paulson. The key design are the same as my 59 Ford Galaxies. Okay. Sammy Lisa Smith. Jerry, that's a sweet car. Simone has left us. She's tired, can't stay. I got it. Glad Simone was here. Thank you, Roger, for giving her a good night. Dion, dude, if he had headphones, it'd be a lot better quality on sound. Yeah, well, he's working with a cell phone, so it's kind of hard to make all that happen. But I understand. Rick, sympathize with Jerry. Some people may recall my car got away from me and slammed into a tree. Yeah, and that's never a good thing. Sammy Lisa Smith, I remember that car from 1 or 2 years ago. He will get it right. He's working hard on it. He is, and it's looking really, really good. Rick, working on his GMC, we learned a whole lot about air conditioning, more than I thought I needed to know, but it blows cold now. Well, that's a plus. Troy, it's looking really good, Jerry. You have made some good progress. I agree. Wes Perry, hey, any update on the Camaro build, Barry? No. I supposedly AMD wants to help me and provide parts. I've been trying to make that happen. I'm not happy with the quarter panels that came with the car and stuff like that. So if I can get free panels, I want to go that route. So I'm waiting to hear from them. So really no update. That's why, I started jumping on the 56 and have made a mess of it, so to speak. But once I get this taken care of, hopefully the Camaro parts will show up and I can jump back in there and get stuff taken care of. But good question, Wes. Rick, Mallory, Unilite distributor in my 65 has worked flawlessly for almost 20 years now. Well, there you go. Charlie says, hey, Wes. And Wes says, hey, Charlie, you are just as sick as me with these cars. And, yep. Rick, Jeff Jones is well known in a vintage Mustang 6 form for rebuilding and modifying the inline 6-cylinder. Okay. Wes Perry, love working on these old rust buckets. Looking forward to tomorrow night. All right. Um, okay, so I'll come back to everybody. Um, oh, and Greg is talking about the cylinder head that Jerry mentioned. He was saying that it is a 2V head, very hard to get. So that's what Jerry is hoping for, I think, and it's not readily available. So let me pull this banner off real quick, and we're gonna look at Jerry's other car. There you
This
go.
is a 2009 Shelby Cobra GT 500 Mustang, and it's, I'd like to tell you that I've won a lot of money in the shows on this thing, but actually I've won 5 or 6 shows with it, but no money so far.
Yeah.
And it's a 5.4 liter supercharged with the Eaton, and it's been modified on the pulley and new cold air intake. It develops about 650 horsepower, 6-speed transmission.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that a lot because I like that body design. I think that ran up to what 2010, right?
It's 2009.
But I mean the shape of the body ran to 2010, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same from 2005 to 2010.
Yep.
2010 is when they changed the block in the engine from a cast iron to aluminum,
Oh, okay.
and I think they went to a 5.0 shortly after that.
Okay. So it's interesting that the '09 came with a 5.4.
It is.
Now that's the way the interior, all that coloring. That's the way it was stock.
It was. The only thing that's changed, and the reason I opened the door to show you this, the original paneling here was a vinyl with a foam backing,
Mm-hmm.
and the foam backing would deteriorate. This is Italian leather
Oh, okay.
that I put on.
Yeah, that looks good.
And the last show I took it to, it won first place in its class.
That's sharp. I like that. Now, how many of those do you know of that were produced?
Um, I don't know the number.
Okay. I didn't
I
know.
can
I
tell
didn't.
you that I have lowering spring. I put lowering springs on it. I
Okay.
got 20-inch tires, which with the original tire, our wheels were 18-inch.
Okay.
These are Shell Cobra um, wheels.
Okay.
And something interesting is this interior is no longer available
Okay.
because I wanted to upgrade the interior because of a little bit of wear
Yeah.
on the leather and stuff here. But it's not available.
So you would have to have it custom made if you wanted to have it redone.
Absolutely.
Okay. See, I was curious about the production numbers because I didn't know if you had like a storyboard for the car. Usually, I see it at shows where someone will have like a storyboard that says this is number 27 of 500 made, or and then like all the list of the mods and stuff like that.
There is a process I can go through, and I can register this with Carroll Shelby's organization,
Yeah.
and they with the VIN number they'll come back with all that information, and then you can also do a Marty report
Right.
that will kind of give you the same information. And I just it hasn't been on the top of my priority list.
Sure. Well, I know
Uh,
for me, whenever I go to places, and I look at cars that kind of trivia information interests me because I just want to read about it and go, okay, well, this car was one of whatever number built. It was the only one built with this interior or this package and that package, and it kind of gives it some uniqueness when you go to a car show. To me, in my opinion, and I see stuff like that, I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of cool, and maybe that would help you. I don't know if they do that at the shows you go to. If you put up like you have that, and maybe there's some other information you could add to that to give it some reference to those kind of numbers.
Well, actually, that's a pretty good suggestion. I appreciate that information. I'll check on that and see.
The idea being that the more unique a thing is, the more people are impressed that it's alive. Now, if it has a limited production number and you've got one of X number of those built, then people might give it a little more recognition. And when you go to get judging done and that sort of stuff, they may go, "Hey, this is kind of a special car," because of this information. So, just a thought.
So originally, when I got this car, it had 2 racing stripes on it across the back and the trunk and everything else. And they were in pretty bad shape, so I took them off. And when I took them off, I liked the look better without the stripes.
Okay.
And so the only issue I have with this car, body-wise, which so far has not hurt me in judging, is when I bought the car, it was keyed. And I don't know that you can see this right here.
Yeah, I can't see it, but
anyway, so I've got it pretty much fixed. But I think what I want to do, because I judge on this car, I judge in a class called conservative hardtop.
Okay.
And I really want to go up to conservative custom. And the only way I can do that is to do a paint job.
Right.
So I think what I'm going to do is have this door repainted and see if I can get it in conservative hard or conservative custom. And the reason for that is there's less competition at that level.
Okay.
Which only means that if you can win your class, you win a little money, which doesn't do much except for pay for the beer.
Yeah. Yep.
But anyway,
that's cool. That is a cool car, Jerry.
Car that I bought, and I bought it cheap, and done a lot of work to it. So,
yeah.
In fact, you can see here on this cover here. When I first got it, all the powder coating had come off.
Oh, okay.
Because of salt and other stuff. And so I pulled all that off and redid all that. And I was researching, and I found a guy that used to work for Ford Motor Company. And he explained to me about the SVT designation. And what Ford did was they created a team, and it's called Special Vehicle Team.
Okay.
They created a team of 4 engineers, and they came in and they said, we're going to do a group of cars, and we're going to make them better than they ever before. And so if you have a car that's got this SVT designation, then they were actually modified after the original engineering.
Okay. Interesting. Well, it looks great, Jerry. Looks great.
So that's kind of my story.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you shared it with us. I'm probably going to let you go for the evening. But I'm glad you were here and then able to show the work on your classic, because you've done a lot of work to it. And it looks really good. It does.
Well, I think the next step is getting the radiator in and get the engine started back up again so I can move it around. And then I'll get the fenders and the hood put back on and just make sure I've got all the body work done. And then we'll just go from there.
Yep. That's the plan. All right.
Well, hey, I appreciate getting on, and I'm finally glad I figured out why I couldn't get on the other day.
Okay. Me too. So we'll talk to you next time. Glad you were here. Take care. Have a good night.
All right, see you.
That was cool. That was cool. I'd like to see progress like that. As I mentioned before, Jerry he had done a bunch of work to the car, and I looked at it with him, and we kind of talked about some things. And maybe running it into the fence was a good thing, because he was able to address those things that he wasn't happy with either, and fix all that. And I think it's looking fantastic. I mean, that car's going to show well, and it looks really good. It looks real good. Let's see. I'm back up to Chris. He says, I'm happy with my first project car, as I wanted the clean cruiser, but not totally restored, as the interior wasn't in condition as a streetable driver, because these cars are meant to be enjoyed. That is true. That is true. Anthony K says, hey, Joe. Hey, Anthony. Give you a bell for being here. Chris says, rebuild the Ford automatic shifters. Rebuild the Ford automatic shifters first thing when you buy a Ford. Dawn Rush of WCCC sells all the pieces. Okay. Oh, West Coast Classic Cougar. You're not going to say that real fast. I'm not going to say that real fast. Chris Seidelman, Barry, give us a current sneak peek on the 56. Well, I can step out of the way, give you a sneak peek. That's just sitting there right now, but that is a new frame section, and I've got some mods to do to the frame itself for the car. I've got to split some corners and spread it open and get everything to kind of slip in. But I'm pretty happy with how everything looks at this point. But it's still gonna take some effort to modify that frame so that the box that they made will fit into the old frame. And of course, I'm kind of doing my own thing in a sense. Their instructions are not amazing, put it lightly. So I'm trying to innovate as I do this as well and make sure that everything is good and solid. So there you go. Doyle says, Jerry, the engine bay looks new. It looks better than new. Honestly, it does. It looks fantastic. Samuel Lisa Smith is checking out. Time to eat. Got it. Roger says goodnight. Okay. Jason, trying to use filler and block sand my 66 Mustang in the garage. I'm novice, learning and making plenty of mistakes. It's 100 degrees in Texas most days now. The filler hardens in just 2-3 minutes. Tips. Probably the biggest tip I can give you is to use less hardener. Now, I don't know what you're using for a scale. It's really tough to judge hardener. Honestly, it is. Typically, you'll see a demonstration where somebody piles on some hardener onto a clean sheets, as I use, right? And they'll have a circle, try to make a kind of a circle of a base or filler, and then the norm kind of thing is to lay a bead of hardener from side to side, straight across. Supposedly, that's the right mix. Now, my problem with that is, if you're, I guess it would depend on how thick your filler is, right? If you have a big pile of it, is it going to be the same as if it were spread out, like would the same material work in that aspect? That's kind of the norm from what I understand. Now, what I typically do is just use less hardener. Typically. Another thing that I do, which is possibly frowned upon by some people, is I mix in a little lacquer thinner. Now, I've done that for years. I learned that from an old body man. He would, before he ever put the hardener in, he would add some lacquer thinner to the filler to like kind of make it a little thinner. But what you really should use is they have, I think it's, what do they call it? It's honey. They call it filler honey or something like that. Bondo honey. It is basically an additive that will thin the filler out, make it flow easier. So they do sell that. I've never used it. I've only used lacquer thinner. The thing is, when you do that, you still have to kind of adjust your filler, your hardener. I still wouldn't put the whole straight across the circle. I might go 3/4. Try it, see what happens. I know it costs money for materials and all that sort of thing, but that's really all you can do is experiment until you find that happy spot that says, hey, it still works. 100 degrees, though, that's tough. That is tough. So hopefully that helps. Great question. Great question. Robert says, wait till September when the temperature goes down. Ray Buckman, good night. Oh, got to run, folks. Have a great one, Barry. Good night, all. Glad you're here, Ray. Robert gave him a shout out. Cool. And Roger. I said Roger, right? I hope I said Roger. Robert is about to board the flight, so he's going to head back to steamy Texas. Have a great flight. Have a safe trip, Robert. Doyle. Jason, I would use less harder in filler, about 1/4 as much as usual. Yeah. I mean, it's really kind of experimenting. Let's see. Greg. Very nice car. I got a 5-liter in for my car. That's cool. Rick Stevenson, sorry, but I have to go. Things are getting busy at work tonight. Okay. Glad you're here, Rick. Crash Rider, doing a bang-up job, Jerry. Looks good. I agree. Mr. Fireman is checking in. Glad you're here. And Charlie says, hey, Roger. Yep. Chris Greenaway found Iron Man. Yeah, there's probably, well, depending on where you look, there's probably 1 or 2 out there. Cheryl says she did too. Okay. Oh, okay, we got another. And Miss Fireman says, get a scale, mix 50-1. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. So, thank you, Mr. Fireman. And he says hi to Charlie. Randall, got a package from Vintage Air today. Parts that were missing when I inventoried the parts. They were very nice to deal with and shipped the missing parts to me quickly. That's good. You know, speaking of, I'm just gonna kind of go sidetrack here a little bit. Recently, we had our washing machine fail. It happens. You know, if you had a washing machine you bought in the 70s, it's probably still running today. Maybe even the 80s, let's say. But we had this washing machine, a Frigidaire, that apparently is really made by Electrolux, which I really didn't realize that. Or at least some of the components are made by Electrolux. Anyway, the motor quit. At least that's what I hope is the problem. These are electronic, you know, you can punch 2 or 3 buttons and it'll flash a code and tell you this is what the problem is. And so I took that apart and I did some checking, and apparently on those washing machines, they've got 5 pin connectors for your speeds, like input speeds, and then it has 2 connectors, or it's 3 your speed and 2 is a tachometer. When you do the pin check, it's supposed to read from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 1 to 3. And should all read 6 ohms between them. The tachometer should read, I think, 100 ohms. I'm getting 0, 0, 0, and 11. So my assumption is the motor's bad. Here's the thing. I went looking for a motor, and I found one on eBay. Fine. eBay, I can do it. I order this motor off eBay. Wait for several days, and it shows up. Great. New motor, fix the washing machine, do laundry. Well, not so fast. I pull the motor out of the box, and I'm looking at it, and I realize something doesn't look right. And I started looking at it a little bit more, And yeah, got somebody being a clown. Anyway, I started looking at the motor, and I realized that the one they sent me was actually used. It was supposed to be a brand new motor, but it was actually used. So I also, when I pulled it out of the box, there's 3 mount lugs on that thing. One of the mount lugs was completely busted off. Still in the box, but it busted off. Why? You're talking about a 13-pound motor thrown into a box, supposed to be brand new, with some foam around it and some other junk, and it arrives busted. And it appears it was used. So, anyway, we had to get another one, and it's not here yet. But you talk about shipping and package, and you said about your missing parts. Well, I got the part, but what difference does it make? It doesn't work. In fact, I did an ohms check on that motor, and it read the exact same way. So that definitely told me it was a used motor. Plus, all the pin connectors, you could see where they had slid a clip on and off, so there was scarring on the pins. So it was definitely a used component. Doyle says USC makes Bondo honey, so it dries slower and spreads smoother. There you go. Thank you. Rick says, in the Leave It to Beaver remake movie, Beaver bought a 65 Mustang, saw the movie on YouTube last night. Interesting. Thank you, Rick. Crashwriter, wonder if anyone has tried cooling filler in the fridge to lower the temperature. I don't know if that's a good idea, because now you make it thicker. Like trying to stir that stuff, it's already pretty dense as it is, and I think that might make it worse. Charlie, you may be working in an air-conditioned garage. Well, that would be beneficial if you could pull that off. Let's see here. Hold on a second. Richard, what did you use to cover basket case when that Camaro was sitting outside? Well, the Camaro was sitting outside. Yeah, I had it covered up. And it was covered up with basically two or three layers of the silver tarps you get from Harbor Freight. That's all I used. Wrapped it up and put some, I think I had planks on one side and bungee cords and whatnot. So that's all I used. In fact, I'm using the same tarps to cover up the 68 Mustang that is now sitting out there where the Camaro was. But yeah, that's all I used. Chris, what's the best cars? The high impact. What? You're stringing a lot of words together. I don't know what you're saying. What's the best cars? The high impact cars, Stripes, or subtle street warriors? Rephrase that for me. I need some commas or something in there. You're throwing me off there, Chris. I think you're trying to ask me what's the best overall car. What I prefer, like a street car, or I don't know. We'll try that again. Yeah, it does suck. And the thing is, I even went so far when I bought this thing and I pulled it out of the box. I still had the eBay ad saved, and I looked at the stampings because the part number was correct. But a lot of times you'll see a product, and I'm not going to have anything in front of me. Just say like this little laser level that I have, digital level, that there will be like a embossed, or let's say a silkscreen number, and it's like either a batch number or a sequence number. The number that was on the part that I got was not the same as the one that they had on their ad. So it wasn't even the same part. I think what happened, somebody probably bought that part, I'm guessing, and swapped out, put their junk back in the box, and then rejected it. Said, this is no good. And then the seller didn't even look at it, just decided, well, I'll just resell it. That's what I'm hoping, but I don't know. Wasn't happy with it. Randall saw a YouTube video that recommended 50/50 mic of Rage Ultra and Rage Ultra Extra and used ratio of 70-1 for a much longer application window. Bought some but haven't used it yet. Okay. Yeah, I just know from experience, I've never weighed out any of that stuff. I mean, it's not a bad idea, though. Not a bad idea at all. Figure it out. Hey, Barry, looking for some advice on a 66 coupe, trying to build it with wristband, some high power levels, shortened 8.8 or 9-inch mini tubs, 4-link. Any suggestions are appreciated. Okay, that's some great questions. Probably what I would like to know is, what are you going to do with it? Are you doing like road course stuff? Are you going to be drag racing it? What's the end goal? Is it just going to be a street car? So those kind of things help out with that. Now, as far as the rear end goes, the default answer is 9-inch. That's just the default answer. 8.8 is a good rear end. It holds up. I had an 8.8 in my 55 Chevy, and it held up. But the default answer is a 9-inch. If you're going to go something strong, engine-wise, I'd probably go with a 9 and maybe put in like Strange Engineering or Curry rear end housing and all that stuff. Get the reinforced housing and the axles and everything. Just do it. Be done with it. Because nothing worse than building up something and underestimating, let's say, what you want to do with it. And next thing you know, you're snapping an axle somewhere. So probably go a little overkill on that. Mini tubs, yes, that's a good option. Again, it depends on what you're trying to put under there. Now, I know that the difference between like the 68, I've got the back wheels on the 68 are actually 9-inch, and they fit under the car. So it probably depends on what you're trying to tuck in there, but it wouldn't hurt if you want to go that route. Put in some mini tubs, give yourself another inch or so, whatever it is. 4-link suspension, I'm all for it. There's manufacturers out there that sell them as bolt-in kits if you want to go that route, or you could do a weld-in kit. But yeah, 4-link you can definitely have some more fun with. And I can't point to one manufacturer and say this one's better than the other, because the only one I've dealt with directly is the TCI kit, which I really didn't care for. That was in the 66 convertible. Just my own opinion. I didn't think it was for what it was being used for. It wasn't necessary. Now, if you're looking at doing something where you're going to be putting a lot of twist and torque in the car, one thing you can look at is, if you want to go this route, is you can add frame connectors, is one idea. Another idea is you can do like Robert did, and he put in the convertible inner rocker panels in his car. So basically you have your outer rocker, your center plate, and then the inner rocker, which will really stiffen up the sides of the car. Add to that torque boxes. If you don't already have them, you might have one, I don't know. Add in your torque boxes up front. Really add strength to that car. So a couple of things there. Like I said, you could do the inner rockers for the convertible. You could add frame connectors. That'll really make it stiff. And you got to be careful somewhat with how much your power you're putting into it. I know Mr. Fireman, he's putting in his Camaro, he's going being proactive and strengthening up the torque boxes. I think the kit he has, the way it's designed, it could actually pull out of the frame. And I know he's gone through some steps to make it stronger. So hopefully that gives you some insight. Now again, if you're doing road course type things, you may want to upgrade your front suspension as well. I've seen people use the coilover setup seems to be a pretty decent kit. Obviously, there's value to the Mustang 2 style front end, but that's up to you on that, how far you want to go with it. So hopefully that helps. Great question. Hope I gave you some good answers. Cool Store. Hi, Barry. 50 to 1 is about standard. Go to 71. Weight is the best way to go because different amounts of hardener gives you different hardness of the filler. Yes. I agree. I mean, it should be done by weight. I think I've gone through so many gallons of body filler, and without that experience, most people aren't going to go and just do it like, hey, I'll put some on the clean sheet and throw some hardener on and go with it. I think I've rarely had stuff set up on me so quick that I couldn't use all of it. And a lot of times I may have enough left over that I could still use some. So, but again, that's years of experience doing that stuff. Chris, what's the best muscle car? The high impact stripes and spoilers, or the subtle cars with a big motor? I was looking for at a 68 Park Lane convertible. Hard to find parts, but had a 428. Now I like subtle. Oh, and it says at the shows. Okay, so you're talking about the classic muscle cars that have hood scoops, spoilers, GT stripes on the side and on the hood and all that other stuff. Which that's a giveaway, right? You already know if you see all that stuff. Typically, that's a muscle car. It's not a daily driver, grocery getter type of car, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, when you're talking about the subtle cars with the big motor, a lot of times those are cool. They're really cool, but a lot of times they don't handle worth a darn. We all know that. You can have I know we've had, my brother had a big Chrysler, I don't even know if it was a Imperial or 300 or New Yorker or whatever, and it was a two-door hardtop Chrysler. It was as long as his garage, but it had a 440 in it. So you could hold it to the floor and smoke the tires and really get some speed out of it, but don't take a turn. Don't take a turn. Stay at straightaways, as far as that goes. Now, there is something really cool about looking at a car like your Park Lane and just thinking, oh, that's just a old cruiser type car. And then you pop the hood and there's a 428 sitting under the hood. Now, some people are going to look at that and go, oh, it's just a big engine. Other people are going to go, oh, it's a 428. There's some really uniqueness to those kind of cars. I know there's the cruising that I go to locally. I'm trying to remember what the car is exactly. It's kind of in that range. It's almost like it's not a Torino. I can't remember what it is. It's a Ford. It's not a Montego, but it's like a '68 Galaxy or something. But it has all these like GT options on it. A really, really cool car. And you open the hood and you're like, wow. And I think the car even had a 4-speed. Those oddity type things really, really turn some heads as for people that know. If you see a whole line of Mustangs and Camaros, everybody kind of realizes they're all in that bracket. But yeah, I get it. So I can't say one is better than the other because I just like cars, but I get what you're asking. And yeah, Chris, that shows David Cheryl, 54 watching, only 40 likes. Come on, people, hit the thumbs up. Yeah, hit the thumbs up. That gets other people interested. Let them know that we're out here doing this stuff. And then YouTube says, hey, this is getting popular. We should promote it more. So we got 49 live viewers, 41 likes. So, yeah, it is what it is. Doyle says Fairlane. Yeah, it felt like it was bigger than a Fairlane, though. Like a bigger body car. I don't know. I'm sure there's pictures of it on my Facebook page, my Joe Daddy's Facebook page. Chris, a guy found on Barn Find Hunter found a 67 Galaxy Country Squire station wagon with a 428 with a 4-speed, 1 of 1, signed by Lee Iacocca himself. Signed by Lee and signed by Lee. Wow. Okay. Now see, I'd rather have that probably than a muscle car, because it really is kind of a muscle car. Yeah, that's amazing. 67 too. That's a cool car to find. Figured out. Super helpful answer. Thank you. Regarding adding to the inner rockers from convertible, would the standard rear torque boxes still weld in, or some modifications required to those at that point? That's a good question. If you go to Robert's channel, The Infernal Craftsman, he's got some detailed information on his inner rockers that he put in, because that's what he's building, his 65 coupe. I can't picture it in my mind how they interact right now, but I know he has that. He shows that, at least in some aspect, in his videos. Angle it down just a hair. So check out The Infernal Craftsman and look at what he's got going on. Another one that I'll give you some is Don's Manufactory. If you haven't checked out Don's Manufactory, go check out his channel. He's got some unique approaches to stiffening the car. One of the things that I think is really, really cool is he basically stiffened up the front end of the car with 1-inch square tubing. And you really need to see what he did to appreciate it. And I've thought about it before, how much he engineered into that car. Basically, like I said, you have to look at it. But he's got reinforcements under the fenders going forward. And one idea I think he talked about was where the pinch weld is, where the cowl and the firewall meet each other. He thought about, I think he thought about this later, putting in a piece of 1-inch square tubing underneath that pinch weld, and then connecting it to the other pieces of square tubing, and kind of making a box, because he drag races that car, and so he wants to have it as stiff as he can get it. But check out The Infernal Craftsman and Don's Manufactory. Get a look at those and see what they have to offer. Chris says Lee supposedly signed off on Ford's end to build the car. I love the odd cars that the upper management had. Yeah. You know, and the thing too, a lot of those cars that were built for management in different companies, they were meant to be like driven for a year or whatever, and then they were supposed to turn them back in and they would be destroyed. So it's hard to say what other vehicles were out there that ended up being crushed because they weren't meant to be sold. Now, some of these people figured out a way to get a hold of them and keep them. And when you find these oddballs like that, you're like, holy cow, that's a pretty amazing car to find. I can't say specifically I found anything like that really stands out. I've seen some interesting cars. I've mentioned this before. I'm a fan of the 78 Malibus, 78, 79 Chevy Malibus. And 78 was the last year that you could get a 350 engine in it. They after that, they went to the 305, I believe. And so if you had a 78, you could order it with the 350. And then if you ordered one of those with a 4-speed, it made it more unique. And then they had, like, I think Choo Choo Customs or something would take those cars, and I forget what they called it, the Black Knight or something. I think the Malibu wagon, they had one called a Black Knight. But if you find one of those, they're pretty rare, in my opinion. And what's really unique is I know the guy who owns this car. He's got, I don't know if it's a 78 or 79 Malibu station wagon with a factory 4-speed, which is almost unheard of. Just think about somebody actually ordering a a station wagon with a 4-speed. Those are, I've looked at the car, but it's been so long ago that I may go look at it again. I don't know if I'd ever want to do anything with it. I just think it's really cool that it's a station wagon with a 4-speed built in the late 70s. So, yeah, Cheryl, I know Roger's working his tail off trying to get rid of these people. What I did let me I don't know if I can, because the last time I did this, I tried to set up a parameter to where people could not do anything without being a subscriber. And I don't know, I intentionally left this one alone because I know Jerry wanted to get on here. And see, once it's running, I can't change it. I was just looking at that. I can't change it. So it's where we're at. So thank you, Roger, for doing your part to get rid of these clowns. Can't just have a normal live stream. Got to have somebody interfering. Chris, someone found a drag car owner's body and waiting 426 Hemi 71 CUDA, and it was completely restored. Okay. That would be pretty cool. I got another one. I still haven't found out. My oldest son had told me some friend of his mom has a 70 or 71 CUDA that belonged to her dad that's supposedly sitting in a garage somewhere not far from here. I don't know where it's at. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is for it, but I'm still trying to figure that out. Terry Dolbo. Hi, I just made it. Well, I'm glad you're here. I probably won't be here much longer. I'll just say that. But I'm glad you're here. I'll give you a late bell for that. Roger gets a bell too for pushing the clowns out of the bus. Donnie Williams is super cool. Yeah. Randall Heath is checking out. Glad you're here, Randall. And Cheryl says, yeah, he's doing a great job. Yep. Okay. Oh, Rick Stevenson made it back. Well, I'm probably not going to be here much longer, Rick. I've got to get in the house and get something to eat. But, I'm getting more done on the 56. Hopefully I can get all the frame section squared away. And by the end of this week, that's the goal, is to get everything fitted, welded in, get the axle underneath it. And then once that'll probably be the next video, get all that taken care of. Then the next thing will be actually test fitting the engine and transmission so I can locate the engine mount cross member, which has to go in there, right about there, and also the transmission mount. This car, the original setup, you can't really tell, but there's lugs off of the frame that mounted to the bell housing for the transmission. And this car's not going to have those. So I'm probably going to cut those off as well, get them out of the way. So I have to, adjust for all that. Now, some other information that I haven't really conveyed or passed on is this car, once we get all this, the front end on, I talked to the company that makes this front end, and we're putting in a Vega steering box. And he said most people put in a rack and pinion setup. So the Vega steering box is going to be a little more unconventional in this sense. The problem is I need to make sure I almost have to go back to the frame section after I get the engine figured out. Because to put the steering box in, you have to make sure the headers are in place and they're going to clear. You don't think about that too much. You're like, oh, just put it in, hope for the best. Nope. Just like anything else, you put the headers on and then you have to figure out where the steering box needs to be so that it clears the header. Because the steering box is just loose. I just have to figure out where I want it. But anyway, that's another piece of the puzzle that has to happen. So that'll probably be it for tonight. Like I said, I got to get in the house, get something to eat. But it's been great. We had a pretty good turnout tonight. Got 53 showing. We had a few clowns show up. And next week I'll probably make the modification to where you can't comment unless you're a subscriber and blah, blah, blah. So we'll figure that out. And that'll be it for tonight. So I'll be back next Monday. Yeah, next Monday. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.